The research logs had been misleading. Zalvira stood at the threshold of the human's quarters, her 3 fingers hovering over the panel. Every recorded account spoke of the legendary tools of mankind, objects of unmatched versatility, revered even among the technologically advanced. The human tool was a source of pride, power, and respect, supposedly carried at all times by their males. Tonight, she would finally see one in person. The door slid open with a faint hiss. Inside, the room was dim, illuminated only by a single blinking panel near the bedside. Jack Carter, human engineer, lay sprawled on his cot, shirtless, legs tangled in a sheet, breathing steadily. His species lacked the protective carapace of the Skara, leaving his skin exposed, muscles shifting subtly with each exhale. She hesitated. This was a delicate situation. He couldn't know she was here. A single glance downward made her breath hitch. It was out. A tool of impressive length and thickness rested against his lap, partially covered by the thin sheet, gleaming faintly in the low light. Her pulse spiked. This was it? It was larger than anticipated. The proportions were nothing like the diagrams in the research logs. No wonder human females were so enamored with their males. Her mandibles twitched. Remain calm. Scientific approach. She inched closer, every step calculated, her gaze locked onto the imposing object. Was it truly a weapon of function, or did it serve a ceremonial role? The logs were inconsistent. Some stated it was used daily, others implied it was only wielded in private. She exhaled slowly. If she were to understand the humans fully, she needed to touch it. A single, cautious finger extended, trembling just slightly. She could feel the warmth radiating from it before she even made contact. Human tools were self-heating? Fascinating. A feather-light stroke. Firm. Impressively solid. The surface smooth, well-maintained. A tool cared for with meticulous discipline. She dragged her fingertip along the length experimentally, analyzing the weight, the density. Her chest tightened. It was perfectly balanced. Her voice barely a whisper, full of quiet reverence. Such craftsmanship! No wonder they are feared. She cupped her fingers around the base, marveling at the contours, the shape. The heft in her palm confirmed what she had suspected. This was a weapon of great utility. Deadly, if misused. She hesitated. Should she grasp it fully? Would that wake him? Her fingers curled a fraction tighter. Jack grunted in his sleep. She froze. A low exhale from the human, his body shifting slightly beneath the sheet. Did she trigger an instinctual defense mechanism? Was he about to awaken in combat mode? Panic flared in her chest. She couldn't be caught like this. It would be seen as a grave insult to interfere with a human's ritualistic rest while his weapon was unsheathed. She forced herself to breathe evenly. It was fine. He was still unconscious. Carefully, she resumed her examination. Her grip adjusted, adjusting for weight distribution. Incredible! How do human females even handle such a thing? Jack grunted again, brow twitching slightly. His mouth parted, murmuring something unintelligible. Then, tighter, yeah, just like that. Her blood ran cold. He was aware of her touch. She released the tool instantly, stepping back so quickly her hip clipped the corner of his workbench. A muted clatter echoed in the quiet room. Jack stirred, groggy, eyes cracking open. Her heart pounded. This was it. She had been caught. Jack blinked, still half asleep, gaze unfocused. And NGH, what? His gaze drifted downward. He froze. Eyes flicked from the object resting on his lap to the alien standing 2 feet away, looking guilty as hell. Silence. A long, painful moment where neither of them moved. Then, Jack's expression morphed into sheer disbelief. Zalvira could feel the heat rising beneath her skin, her thoughts scrambling for an appropriate cultural excuse. Jack sat up slowly, rubbing his face. He looked at her. He looked at his lap. He looked back at her. Then the bastard grinned. "So, you break into my room," he muttered, voice rough from sleep, "just to fondle my wrench?" Zalvira bristled. "Your tool is an artifact of scientific significance. I was merely examining it." He raised a brow. "Very hands-on approach, document." Her mandibles twitched. "Your customs are unclear. In some cultures, handling a warrior's tool without permission is a mating challenge. Others dictate it is an honor-bound duel to the death. I sought to determine which was true." Jack ran a hand through his messy hair, shaking his head. He was trying, so hard, not to laugh. "Look, sweetheart, I don't know what your research logs say, but where I come from." He picked up the wrench, flipping it lazily in his fingers. This is a standard-issue engineering tool, not some mystical warrior cock extension." Her jaw tightened. "Then why do you cradle it in your sleep?" He snorted. "Because I fell asleep fixing the damn ventilation system for 5 hours and passed out before putting my shit away." She processed the new information. Then, with slow, dawning horror, she realized. She had spent an entire hour worshipping an inanimate object. Jack leaned forward, elbows on his knees, smirking. "So tell me, how was your first time handling a real human tool?" Her hands clenched into fists. "You will forget this happened." "Not a chance." His grin widened. "This is going in the logs." Her face darkened. "I will incinerate your logs. You'll have to catch me first, sweetheart." Her gaze flicked to the door. The only exit. He had positioned himself between her and freedom. A challenge. Very well. Without another word, she snatched the wrench from his grasp, spun on her heel, and bolted. Jack barked a laugh as she disappeared into the corridor, wrench still clutched tightly in her hands. He shook his head, flopping back onto his cot. "Aliens, man!" Then he blinked. Wait, had she just stolen his damn wrench? Jack sat in the mess hall the next morning, sipping his coffee, still trying to process the absolute madness that had unfolded in his quarters. Across the table, his buddy, Lieutenant Owens, squinted at him. "You look like hell. What happened?" Jack took a slow sip, savoring the bitter warmth before muttering. "I woke up to an alien chick fondling my wrench." Owens choked on his drink. "The fuck?" Jack sighed, rubbing his temple. "Zalvira. She snuck in last night. Thought my wrench was some kind of sacred human weapon." There was a beat of silence. Then Owens leaned in, voice low. "When you say wrench," Jack deadpanned, "I mean my actual wrench." Owens leaned back, visibly disappointed. "Oh. Still funny, though." Jack shot him a look before glancing around. No sign of Zalvira. Good. He needed some peace before dealing with her brand of chaos again. But just as that thought settled, the mess hall doors slid open, and in she strode. Tall, elegant, her exoskeletal plating gleaming under the artificial lights. And in her three-fingered hands? His damn wrench. Jack groaned, sinking lower in his seat. Owens, sensing prime entertainment, leaned forward, grinning. "Oh, this is gonna be good." Zalvira made a beeline for Jack, gaze intense as she slammed the wrench onto the table with ceremonial reverence. The entire mess hall went quiet. She spoke, voice low, serious. "Human Jack Carter, I have returned your tool." Jack blinked. Thanks?" Her mandibles twitched. "I have contemplated my actions. It was a grave mistake to touch your weapon without proper honor rites. I must make amends." Jack fought the urge to laugh. "Zal, it's a damn wrench." Owens muttered under his breath. "Yeah, but it's his wrench. That's intimate." Jack shot him a glare before looking back at Zalvira, who seemed visibly tense. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "All right. What exactly do you think you need to do to make amends?" Her mandibles twitched again. "A life debt." Jack choked on his coffee. "A what?" Owens was openly grinning now. Zalvira nodded solemnly. "Among the Skara, if one dishonors a warrior's tool, they must swear absolute fealty until the debt is repaid." Jack pinched the bridge of his nose. "Zal, it was a wrench." She was unmoved. "You may claim my service in any way you desire." Jack paused. Owens raised an eyebrow. A couple of the other soldiers at nearby tables exchanged glances. That wording was dangerous. Jack exhaled. "You're serious about this?" She placed a fist over her chest. "By the blood of my ancestors." Owens, the bastard, could not stop grinning. "Jack, buddy, if you don't take advantage of this, you don't deserve to call yourself human." Jack shot him a look before turning back to Zalvira. Her species was dead serious about honor. If he brushed this off, she'd probably be offended. Fine. If she was so hell-bent on repaying him, he might as well have some fun with it. He leaned back, smirking slightly. "All right, you're bound by honor, yeah? That means you have to listen to whatever I say." She nodded. "Yes, as long as it does not violate the sacred tenets of my people." Jack pretended to think. "So let's say I tell you to fetch me coffee every morning. You do it?" She nodded. "Yes." "Do my laundry?" Another nod. "Yes." Jack's smirk widened. "Call me Supreme Commander of all tools every time you see me?" A brief hesitation. Then, begrudgingly, "If that is what you wish." The table erupted into laughter. Owens nearly fell out of his chair. Jack leaned forward. "All right. I want you to publicly tell everyone how impressed you were by my tool." Zalvira nodded without hesitation. "Very well." She turned toward the entire mess hall, which, by now, had gone completely silent, every soldier watching in anticipation. Then, loudly and clearly, she declared, "Last night, I held human Jack Carter's tool in my hands, and I must say, it was truly magnificent." The mess hall exploded. Owens fell out of his chair. Someone spit out their drink. A guy near the back screamed, "Holy shie!" Jack buried his face in his hands. This was not how he expected his morning to go. Zalvira, however, looked immensely satisfied. "I trust your honor has now been restored?" Jack peeked between his fingers. "Yeah, Zal. Yeah, we're good." Owens, still wheezing with laughter, wiped a tear from his eye. "Jack, man, you are never living this down." Jack groaned. He had a feeling Owens was right. Jack should have known it wouldn't end there. Zalvira took her life debt very seriously, and by the time the day was over, she had already begun treating him like some kind of divine entity of craftsmanship. It started small. She followed him everywhere, ensuring that no one else touched his tools. Not his squadmates, not the maintenance crew, hell, not even him, unless she handed them over personally with great reverence. At first, Jack found it hilarious. Then it became a problem. Because now, everyone on the damn ship was playing along. "Supreme Commander of all tools." Sergeant Vasquez saluted as Jack passed the corridor. Jack groaned. "Vasquez, don't." Vasquez grinned. "Can't help it, Carter. It's fleet-wide news now." And it was. The entire station knew about Zalvira's misunderstanding, and instead of correcting it, Jack had made the fatal mistake of messing with her. Now, he was reaping what he sowed. "Your worship," Owen smirked, handing him a wrench. "Might I request a blessing upon this lowly instrument?" Jack snatched it, throwing him a glare. "I hope your coffee's poisoned." Owens chuckled, unfazed. Not possible. Your devoted alien maid made it herself. And that? That was the next problem. Zalvira had taken personal responsibility for his well-being. She was now preparing his meals, making sure his quarters were spotless, handing him tools like a ceremonial attendant at a holy shrine. And worst of all, she refused to let anyone else touch him. Jack learned this the hard way when Private Sullivan, an innocent engineer just doing her damn job, patted Jack's shoulder in passing. Zalvira froze. Her mandibles twitched, exoskeletal plating rippling as she turned, slowly, to face Sullivan. Jack barely had time to react before Zalvira placed herself between them. With dead seriousness, she intoned, "You dare defile his sacred form?" Sullivan blinked. "What?" Zalvira narrowed her glowing eyes. "The blessed hands of the Tool Commander must not be sullied by common hands." Jack wanted to die. Sullivan looked at him, looked back at Zalvira. Then, with the most deadpan expression possible, she said, "You're fucking with me, right?" Zalvira did not blink. Sullivan turned back to Jack slowly. "Carter." Jack sighed. "Yeah." Sullivan nodded. "You've really made it to the top, huh?" Jack buried his face in his hands. By dinner, things had only gotten worse. The station's comms officer had somehow gotten wind of the incident, and now the ship-wide intercom was blaring nonsense. "Attention all personnel. Per Fleet Protocol 69B, the Supreme Commander of all tools shall now be addressed with proper honorifics upon entry to any maintenance bay." Jack stopped mid-bite. Owens, sitting across from him, grinned. "Carter, man, I hope you know you're never living this down." Before Jack could respond, Zalvira appeared at his side, lowering herself into the seat next to him with great determination. Jack immediately tensed, because now he recognized that look. It was the same look she had when she vowed a life debt. "Human Jack Carter," she said, voice low, serious. "I have spent the day studying your customs." Jack put down his fork. "Zal, please," she continued. "There is but one way to properly atone for my transgression." Jack sighed. "Zal, it's fine." She leaned in, voice dropping to a whisper. "I must become your mate." Jack choked on air. Owens fell out of his chair. Half the damn mess hall stared. Jack coughed, gripping the table. "Excuse me?" Zalvira nodded, completely serious. "Among my people, to dishonor one's tools is to dishonor their very being. The only way to restore your dignity is to take responsibility." Jack's brain short-circuited. "Take responsibility how?" She placed a clawed hand over his. "In the most intimate way possible." Someone at the next table screamed. Jack wrenched his hand away, standing so fast he nearly knocked over his chair. "No. Nope. Absolutely not. We're not doing this." Zalvira frowned, tilting her head. "Is it not common among humans to take responsibility in such cases?" Jack pinched the bridge of his nose. "Zal, I'm not marrying you over a damn wrench." The entire mess hall erupted. Owens, crying with laughter, wiped a tear. "Oh, fuck me, Carter. You might as well just accept it at this point." Zalvira's mandibles twitched. "Do I displease you?" Jack groaned. "Zal, you're fine. You're great. You're a little insane, but that's not the point." She blinked. "Then what is the problem?" Jack gestured wildly. "We are not getting married because of a tool misunderstanding." Zalvira narrowed her eyes. "Then I must ask, what, exactly, does a human require in a mate?" Jack froze. Oh no. Because that was a loaded question. And judging by the way the entire mess hall had gone silent, everyone else knew it too. Owens, the bastard, leaned in. "Yeah, Carter. What do you look for in a mate?" Jack wanted to die. But Zalvira was waiting. and the entire ship was listening. So, with zero choice left, Jack sighed, running a hand through his hair. "All right," he muttered. "Fine. If you really want to know." Silence. Then, he grinned, leaning forward. "Well, for starters, she's got to be absolutely obsessed with tools." Zalvira perked up. The entire mess hall exploded. Jack barely made it out of the mess hall alive. By the time he reached his quarters, his face still burned from the sheer amount of laughter, catcalls, and outright marriage proposals that had been thrown his way. Apparently, half the damn ship had decided that since he was already being worshipped as the supreme commander of all tools, he might as well start a harem. He slammed the door shut behind him, exhaling. "Jesus!" A chime sounded. Jack froze. He turned slowly, staring at the panel beside the door. Someone was requesting entry. He already knew who. "Jack Carter." Zalvira's voice crackled through the calm. "I have returned." Jack groaned, dragging a hand down his face. "Zal, please." "I have prepared myself," she interrupted. Jack blinked. "Prepared yourself for what?" A pause. Then, in a dead serious tone, she replied, "For the mating trials." Jack walked directly into the wall. He gripped the edge of his desk, trying to process. "Zalvira, what the actual hell are you talking about? I have reviewed human literature." Jack's stomach dropped. "Oh no," Zalvira continued, voice deadly serious. "Many of your mating rituals involve tests of strength, endurance, and skill." Jack closed his eyes. "Zal, I swear to God, I will now perform them for you." Jack's soul left his body. Before he could stop her, the door slid open. Zalvira stepped inside. Jack instantly regretted everything. Because Zalvira? She was barely wearing anything. A set of tight, dark wrappings covered her exoskeletal form, her usually stiff, armor-like plating glistening. Her claws were filed. Her mandibles were glossed. And in her hands? She was holding a gigantic-ass wrench. Jack's brain short-circuited. "What the hell?" Zalvira's glowing eyes locked onto him. "I have prepared for your trials." Jack pointed at the wrench. "Why, what is that?" She brandished it. "I will now demonstrate my skill with tools." Jack backed up. "Zal, put the damn wrench down." She swung it. The entire desk shattered. Jack yelped. Zalvira nodded, satisfied. "I am proficient in your crafts." Jack stared at the wreckage. He pointed. "You just destroyed my desk." Zalvira tilted her head. "Was it not an impressive display of strength?" Jack covered his face. "Jesus Christ, Zal." She stepped closer. "I can also carry you." Jack immediately stepped back. "No." "Nope. Absolutely not." Before he could react, Zalvira lunged. With inhuman speed, she scooped him up. Jack flailed. "Exhale, put me down." She effortlessly cradled him in her arms. "You are light." Jack wanted to die. The ship's intercom crackled to life. "Attention crew, we are receiving a live feed from Maintenance Bay 04. Carter has been abducted. Repeat, Carter has been abducted. Begin negotiations." Jack screamed. Zalvira tightened her grip. "Do not fear, mate. You are safe." Jack thrashed. "I am not your mate." She tilted her head. "Then, must I display my agility?" Jack's soul left his body. "Zal. Zal, please." She leapt. In a single bound, she cleared the room, vaulting onto the bed with inhuman speed. Jack wheezed in panic. "Why are we on the bed?" She caged him in. Jack froze. Zalvira's eyes glowed. "Have I proven myself?" Jack was sweating bullets. His brain refused to work. His body refused to move. He could barely breathe. Because right now, Salvira was way too close. Her scent was alien, but intoxicating. Her plating was warm, smooth to the touch. And the way her body curved, the way her mandibles twitched. Jack swallowed. Hard. This was very, very bad. Because for the first time since this nightmare started, his brain wasn't saying no. Salvira's mandibles twitched. Are you still unsatisfied? Jack forgot how to speak. Silence. Then, the ship's door alarm blared. Carter! Owens's voice boomed. You still alive in there? Jack nearly sobbed. Salvira frowned. Why do they interfere? Jack exhaled. Because they're... A pause. He sat up. Grinned. They're jealous. Salvira's eyes widened. Outside, Owens was still banging the door. Carter? Jack barely held back his laughter. Oh! Oh, he was about to make this so much worse. He leaned closer, voice dropping. Salvira, what if I told you that they were trying to take me from you? Salvira's plating bristled. Jack nearly lost it. But he wasn't done. They're testing you, he whispered. To see if you're worthy. Salvira stiffened. Jack's grin turned wicked. Are you gonna let them challenge your claim? Salvira's eyes flashed. She stood, turned, marched to the door, and ripped it open. Owens yelled. The entire hallway was filled with half the crew. Salvira glared at them, voice deadly serious. He is mine. Silence. Then, Owens turned to Jack, grinning. Carter, he said. What the fuck did you do? Jack leaned back, arms behind his head. He grinned. Looks like I've been claimed.